My name is Margaret Green. I'm 72 years old. I live in a small brick house at the edge of town. My husband, Robert, built this house himself when we were young. He planted rose bushes in the front yard. Every spring they bloom red and full. They remind me of the flowers he brought me when we were dating. Robert and I wanted a child for many years, but it did not happen. When I was 37 years old, we adopted Daniel. He was just a baby. From that day on, he became our whole world. We loved him like our own son, and he loved us back. I watched him grow up, step by step. Now he is 35 years old. I often think life gave us another chance to be a family. Before Daniel moved to the city for a new job, he gave me a small box wrapped in silver paper. Inside was a small phone. It had a green call button and a tiny screen. His name was saved on it. "Here, Mom," he said with a smile. "This is so we can talk any time. Press this green button and I will answer." I held the phone in my hands. I was amazed and a little scared. I had never used a phone like that before. I looked at him and said, "Promise me you will call every day if you can." He smiled and squeezed my hand. "I promise, Mom, you will hear my voice every day." That little phone felt like a bridge to him. I kept it close all the time. The first week was wonderful. Daniel called every morning. I sat by the window with a cup of tea, waiting for the cheerful ringtone. When it rang, my heart danced. He told me about his small apartment, his new job, and the noisy streets. He laughed often, and I laughed too. The house felt alive again. Sometimes when he spoke, I could hear Robert's voice in his. I even cooked Daniel's favorite food, though he wasn't there. Meatloaf with mashed potatoes. I ate alone, pretending he sat across from me talking about his day. At night, I wrote in my diary. My son's voice fills the air again. The phone is my new candle in the dark, but life changes quietly. One morning, the call did not come. I waited. Maybe he was late. By evening, still nothing. The next day, he called and said, "Sorry, Mom. Busy day." I forgave him. One day was okay. Then it became 2 days. Then 5. The calls grew shorter. His voice sounded tired. Sometimes I heard music, laughter, or other people. When I asked who was there, he said, "Just friends, Mom. Don't worry." I tried not to worry, but I did. Weeks turned into months. I still cooked for 2. Old habits stayed with me, but now they hurt. I kept the phone close all the time. When I swept the floor, it rested on a chair. When I watered the plants, it stayed in my pocket. At night, it slept under my pillow. Sometimes it buzzed. My heart jumped, but it was never him. Just messages from the phone company, wrong numbers or advertisements. Once, I even answered a stranger's call, just to hear someone say hello. I wrote letters to Daniel in my diary, as if he could read them. "Dear Daniel, I made your favorite soup today. I wish you were here to taste it. Dear Daniel, I saw a boy riding his bike like you used to." I smiled, then cried. Neighbors asked, "Has Daniel visited recently?" I always smiled and said, "Yes. Sometimes gentle lies are easier than hard truths." Winter came early. The nights grew cold. The house creaked as the wind passed through it. One night, I sat near the heater and looked at Robert's photo on the wall. His smile seemed to ask, "Why do you wait so long, Margaret?" I whispered, "Because I promised him I would." Then, one rainy evening, everything changed. The sky was grey. Rain tapped on the roof. I was knitting near the window when the phone rang. That cheerful ringtone filled the room. My hands shook. I almost dropped the phone. I pressed the green button and whispered, "Daniel." There was a pause, then a man's voice said gently, "Ma'am, are you Mrs. Margaret Green?" "Yes," I answered quickly. "Who is this? Is Daniel with you?" "I'm calling from St. Mary's Hospital in Greenford," he said. "We found your number in a wallet. It belonged to your son." My heart stopped. The rain outside grew louder. "I'm very sorry, Mrs. Green. There was an accident 2 months ago. Your son did not survive. We tried to contact you earlier." I could not speak. I pressed the phone against my chest, wishing it could bring him back. The man talked about paperwork and belongings, but I could not hear him. 2 months. For 2 whole months, I had been waiting for a call that would never come. I thought my son had forgotten me, but he was already gone. That night I did not cry. I sat in the dark holding the phone. The screen was black, but in my mind Daniel's face was clear, smiling, alive. In the morning I opened my diary and wrote, "Now I understand why my phone never rang. My son was not busy, he was too far away, farther than I could reach." The next week, a small package arrived from the hospital. Inside were his wallet, his watch, and a photo of us standing in our garden years ago. I placed the photo beside Robert's on the shelf above the fireplace. Then I placed Daniel's button phone next to it. Still charged, still waiting. Every morning I make tea for two. Old habits stay with me. I sit by the window, look at the empty chair, and whisper, "Good morning, Daniel. How is the weather up there?" Sometimes when the wind moves the curtains, it feels like someone softly calls my name. I like to believe it is him, trying to reach me without a phone. I still keep the phone on. I charge it every night, not because I expect it to ring, but because it reminds me of one truth. Love does not end, it only changes shape. And maybe one day, when I am gone, I will hear that ringtone again. This time when I answer, it will be him,